Hello, and welcome to Bill Selak Talks. My name is Bill Selak. This is me talking. And here we are, the final episode of the Rising Decline second album retrospective. I should have a better, catchier way of describing this thing after, 12 songs? Is that where we're at? 10 songs? I should know that too as well. My goodness. But here we are. So, this is the end. If you've been with us for this entire album, this is me taking a look back at my old punk rock band Rising Decline's second album that was previously unreleased from, 2002-ish? So here we are on a nice round 23rd anniversary of us not releasing that album. And I'm taking each song, breaking it down, talking a little about the song, a little about the songwriting, a little bit about the recording or music theory or whatever, but whatever it's going to be, it always connects to education or technology or educational technology, and this is no different. So this song, the final one on the album, is called November Tragedies. It's one of those few songs that in this band I wrote most of. It was definitely my idea that I brought to the band. That's why it starts with like bass guitar, because I played bass in the band, right? So it's me playing 2 or 3 strings at a time with a guitar pick, which is not a normal thing a bass player does. They normally play one note at a time. By normally, I mean like almost all the time. So like the main kind of guitar riff you would typically hear ended up being a bass riff, and then we added harmonies above and below that on the guitar and in other instruments. So the big thing about this one, and I've been thinking a lot about how to wrap this up, and I took it in a couple different directions and ended up waiting a long time between last episode and this one because I wanted to kind of get it right and put a nice little bow on this retrospective, on this project of mine. And I think I've got it. So this song was about a handful of different things that just like really sucked in the span of like a month. So as you might guess, in the month of November, it was just like a bunch of things. It was like, I think the big thing was like my grandma, I think, died that month. I mean, it's been 23 years. It was definitely like about that and about like trying to deal with that. And then like on top of that, I'm pretty sure it was also, and this might be me just completely like, as I'm remembering it, I'm reconstructing all this, but I think it was also like when my now wife of 20 and a half years, it's more than 20 years and 5 months. We dated briefly, and then she was like, "You are a dork. I am super over you." And I was just like, my heart is broken. I was going to spend my life with you. You're going to be the mother of my children. I never said any of that, but like as you're kind of not so much journaling, but kind of, I don't know, how do I describe it? Like, I guess it was journaling, but the time I was like songwriting, like my song idea notebook. I never actually said that, but the irony is that she is the mother of my children at this point. But it was the like, I'm over you, you're a dork. And I was, and I still am, but it was just like, it was that on top of like, my grandma is dying. And I didn't really get dumped. Like, we were never officially together, but it was like this person that I have a big old crush on, like super over me. And just like, you had a couple more of those things on it. And it was like, I can handle kind of any one of those things, but you put them all together all at once. And it's just like, this is a lot. And the way I kind of processed that in my, at this point, early 20s, almost mid 20s, was to write this song. So I was playing guitar, coming up with a thing, finding lyrics that kind of fit it. Trying to kind of convey that emotion through song. And the takeaway from me with all of this was like, art is sometimes about just making art. It doesn't have to be a finished product. It doesn't have to be a great song. It doesn't have to be a good song. It doesn't have to be a song you even finish. It doesn't have to be a song you share with anyone. If you're drawing instead of writing a punk rock song, it can be just a sketch that is there and is gone. You don't have to like frame it and sell it for it to be art and valuable. There's something super, super valuable in just the making of the thing. And that's the episode, right? We're going to go deeper into that. But the whole idea that like it has to be a finished thing or a process thing or like a certain level of like excellence for it to count as art, I think is a huge misnomer. And I think it jumps into a bit of kind of, at least if you're listening to this in the US, like the whole idea that like you need to monetize everything. It's all the hustle culture. You need to like, right? It can't just be, I'm going to make a thing and do a thing and have a hobby. I need to have a hobby and then monetize the hobby. I need to monetize it and it needs to be good. It needs to be excellent. It can't just be like, I'm going to learn to crochet and I'm going to make terrible looking scarves. I have never said anything like that. It's like, I'm going to do a hobby. I love it. I'm going to get serious about this hobby. And if I'm not excellent at it, I will probably just stop the hobby. And I think that particularly when we look at anything kind of artistic, that's such a trap. And I think it's a trap for us adults as we have hobbies as adults, but then also how we think about anything artistic in the school setting. Because, well, first of all, grades tend to kind of ruin everything. It becomes about the grade and not about the learning. But when it comes to the arts, like if we just look about, like, not that this was ever a songwriting class, but if it was, like, I think there's real value in just writing the song. Is it a good song? No. Does it matter? Also, no. Eventually, should you write a song that is great? That would be nice. Let's work towards that. But just the practice of writing songs, I think, is so important and is such an important distinction that we actually do the thing, right? If you like to write songs, write songs. Do they need to be finished? No. Do they need to be great? No. Should they eventually be finished? Yes. Should they eventually be great? Let's hope so. It reminds me of the singer of, what song is that? They visited Sarah's class in Vegas, Imagine Dragons. That singer, don't know his name, apparently writes a song a day. And so they do an album a year, less than an album a year. So like 10 songs, he writes 365. I'm guessing they're not all complete. I'm guessing they're not all published. But the idea that he just writes a song a day and like that's the workflow because he's a songwriter, I love. And I think that there's some real genius in that idea that we just do our art. We make our art. And it can be fine if you just do it and it's done. Doesn't have to go anywhere. It doesn't have to be processed. So in class, what does that look like? Well, so I've been working with, we have a new video teacher. His name's Tanner. Amazing. He has like a deep background in theater, is the director of a number of plays at our school right now, and is also taking this video class, teaching this video class. And so like a thing when he and I connect and talk about that and like, what does the technology look like in a movie making class in middle school? For me, it's so much about the reps. It's less about like the finished product and like they make the one big movie. It's like, no. Every class period, make a movie. When's it due? At the end of class period. John Curripo taught me a thing years ago that I love. It's called Panic Now. And if you've ever been a student, all of us have, and you're like, all right, this is due in a month. Did anyone actually start like that night? You're like, cool, it's due in a month. I will not worry now. A week goes by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks go by, maybe you look at it. But for me, it was like the week of, if I had a month, and more realistically, the night of, or this is due tomorrow, I will panic now. And he was like, no. Nobody does it early. Don't give them a month. Give them one class period. This is due in 45 minutes. Panic now, go. And so what does that get you? That gets you just making the thing, right? It's like the big idea of this episode is like, you're just making the thing. Does it have to be good? No. But if you do it again and again and again, is it going to be better? Absolutely. And you get the reps. Like, I think there's a real genius in, I said genius more than once. What is happening? Is that our word of the week? This word is genius. There's some real genius. That's what it was. I watched Top Gun Maverick, and I don't even know the word genius, but in the original one, call sign Charlie, Charlotte Blackwood, would say, I saw some real genius in your flying. That's stuck in my head. I don't know why, but it is, and there it is. There's some real genius in just getting the reps. If you get the reps, you're going to build that muscle memory. You're going to be able to build on that knowledge. You have all those like teeny tiny checkpoints, all that formative assessment happening. And that's how you learn. Doesn't have to be one big video. Give me 50 tiny videos. It's also that thing that may or may not be true around the undergrad clay sculpting class, whatever it's called, ceramics, I don't know. And it was like, you've never touched clay before. One group, you're going to be graded on your final product. You only have one assignment, right? And whatever the quality of that final assignment is, that is your final grade. Other section of the class, you're going to be graded on how many pieces you make. If you make 100, you get an A. So fast forward, end of the quarter of the semester or whatever it was. Any guess on who had the better art? You got it. It was the people who did 100 pieces of art. They threw the clay 100 times. The first 80 were terrible. The next 10 were okay. The final 10 were probably pretty okay. And the people who spent the entire quarter or semester or whatever it was working on that one piece, it was their first piece and it was pretty awful, right? So if we go back to the song, the whole idea is it's less about writing a song that's going to like end your album and be like, oh, there it is. That puts a nice bow on this album. But it's just like, there's something also to be said for just November 2002, whatever year it was a really, really hard month for me. And writing this song helped me get through that. And I think that alone makes being able to play an instrument and be able to write a song valuable. And like, period. That's good. That's great. And I think the more we can keep that in mind as we structure learning opportunities for students in the school day, the better off they're going to be, because then that becomes something they can lean on. Like, oh, even if they don't play an instrument, I learned GarageBand, I can sequence this thing. That's part of actually why I love text to image AI generators, because I don't really draw well. My stuff still looks like stick figures. I've never taken the time to learn how to draw well. But sometimes like I feel like I want to kind of express myself visually, and that gives me a way to do that kind of in the moment, as a way to kind of think through a thing or like sort through some feelings. So whatever tools we can give kids that help with that, like, amazing. Before we go, there's one thing that I just have to talk about musically that's not connected to this theme, but it's kind of an awesome ending. And I'd love for you to listen to this song, just like with every other song from this project. This podcast episode is me talking about it, and then the next podcast episode is just the song in its entirety on its own. So if you want to download that and save that, cool, great. It just always bothers me when you have to like fast forward to the end of a podcast just to hear the song. I want the song separate, so it is. So when you listen to that, at the very, very, very end, lyrics are done. It goes on for about 2 minutes, maybe. I could have looked this up, and I'm not going to. And it just repeats. And so just the drums are just keeping quarter notes, just tapping along. Can I tap on like my mic stand? Right, but it's like a stick hitting the snare drum. So it's like a really cool, just percussive sound. And that just loops. Marco is just playing that nonstop. And then the guitar just kind of drones in. And actually ran it through like a processor back in, keep in mind, this is 23 years ago. There's some processors that would like take a guitar and like convert it, using air quotes here, to like vocal or something. And it like never worked, but it gave this really cool kind of synth pad sort of thing. And that's kind of going in. And so I just kind of put that in throughout it. And then the main thing you hear is actually a mandolin. And so one mandolin plays through the idea twice, and then it repeats until the song fades out. Or it doesn't fade out, because I don't like fade outs, until it just ends. And then a second mandolin comes and plays a harmony to that. And then the two of them play until the song ends. Then a third. It ended up being 5-part harmony with 5 different mandolins that I played. If you give a mouse a cookie, if you give a bass player a mandolin, he ends up writing a mandolin outro. But the interesting thing is that the song is not in 4/4 like nearly every other punk rock song ever. And I would not consider so much a punk rock song, but we were a punk rock band. The song is in 5. And so as you're going through the ending, you typically go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You can hear the drums play to that. 1, 2, 3, 4. this adds a beat every measure. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on and on. It's in 5/4 for the outro. Nowhere in the middle, but just for that outro, it switches. And I was trying to get kind of that the thing I can't describe now, because like that's why I wrote it for mandolin. Just this idea that like you can't quite put things into words. It's not resolved. It feels like it's looping, and it is looping, but it's not a perfect loop. But it's, I don't like it. Just 4/4 didn't seem to fit how I felt. But then 5, like part of it too, like I will give you that things just had to be more complicated. I'm like, I have an undergrad in music and I will write a song in 5/4. But I defy you to find another punk rock song that ends its album with 5 mandolins playing 5-part harmony in 5/4 time. I don't think it has happened. I don't know that it will happen, and maybe there's good reason that it should not happen anywhere else. But it did, and I think it's kind of awesome. And it's one of those, like, even now I can listen to it just over 20 years later, and it's just like, that's, like, I still feel that feeling, that kind of longing, that kind of sadness, but hope, but processing of all the things. And for me, that's what that meant. And when you listen to it, I hope some of that comes across and you're like, oh, I kind of get the thing. And if nothing else, if you're a musician and you caught all of what I was throwing at you, you're like, that's a pretty cool ending. I like, even if I don't like the sound of it or the idea musically, like just being like, yes, 5-part mandolin harmony in 5/4 for an outro. Solid. Good call, Bill. If nothing else, if one person says that, then like stoked. No choice. So with that, let's put a bow on this whole thing. If this is the first time you're listening to one of my episodes in some time, the last, I think, 9 episodes are me doing the same thing where I talk about an album, the second album from Rising Decline, talk about the song, then you hear the song. Talk about the song, then hear the song. It's a solid A-B pattern. This is the final one of those. I'm going to go back to just talking about topical stuff, likely going to be AI in education, because there's so much happening with that. But in the meantime, check that out. If you want to download those songs, awesome. Like, reach out and be like, dude, this song was cool. That would be awesome to hear. If you love this music, sweet. I did this whole thing a number of years ago for our first album, Socially Acceptable Disaster. You can go through and listen to, I think, those 15 songs. So it's like a 30-part series, whereas, you know, song 1, me talking. Song 1, listen to it. Song 2, me talking. Song 2, listen to it. I did that also. So trying to give a life to that album and that band that I love so much and I'm so proud of. And yeah, this is the end of that. So thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for preemptively listening to the next song, November Tragedies. And thanks for listening to the whole retrospective of our second album. My name is Bill Selak. This has been me talking.